Hello everyone, and welcome to the stream. I don't remember what I had going on here. I paused the game before I went to eat. Anyways, there's some new things I found out in regards to tactics and tactic damage that I think I can make good use of. So, we're going to be taking a look at some of those. I'll wait to explain them until more people start showing up, and then I'll explain things. That way I don't have to do it multiple times. Otherwise, we'll just chill out with a couple of probably... What do you want to do for settings? Probably around 50. I think something like that probably looks good. I should check my mine crystals too. And I think Blade is what I want to run this run. Oh, let me move this Ragna real quick, otherwise it's gonna bother me. Alright, so basically what's been going on, I've got a couple different setups between Ragna and Jin with different tactic setups on them. Ragna I'm just using for time stasis like I usually do, but there's something special with Ragna's Blood Cane that I found out. And that is that this damage increase applies to tactics, which is something that's very unique in this game, because most damage increases do not apply to tactics, they just apply to your character. So by using this extra damage, I've been able to boost some builds. Like, there's one with Blade Rings, consecutive Blade Rings, Skill Poison Ring, and Precision Cut, that will absolutely melt through anything. Let me go back before I start an actual run and just show off how ridiculously powered this Blade Ring build is. Part of what helped is that the Blade Rings themselves did get buffed, but a big part of this is finding out that a couple of things affect tactic damage. So let me see, it should be this icy. So to stack on top of that, I also found out that Rending Impact is another upgrade that will apply to tactic damage. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be stacking the 16% extra damage of Rending Impact and the 12% extra damage from Blood Cane, which is Ragna's new second legacy passive, or legacy active. And then these Blade Rings are going to start dealing insane amount of damage. It might actually be more DPS than the Lightning Light Spear build that was always known for being like really powerful or doing nothing. So here we go. Look at that HP bar go. It's ridiculous. I didn't attack with my character there at all, aside from applying the Rend and putting on the the Skill Poison Ring. That was all tactic damage, and that was 200,000 HP, so it's not like that was just a slouch of a boss. That was a ton of damage output. So that is the build that I've tested so far. So I want to use the same thing on a couple of other tactic builds that I feel like the tactic damage might be enough to carry. One of those has always been Fire Spirit Detonation. It's been pretty strong. It hasn't been able to keep up with the, like, real meta builds, but by buffing their damage, we might be able to do this. And then the other one is a Shadow Spike build. That one, I don't know about quite as much, if it'll be able to keep up in damage, but that's what we're here to test. Yeah, the damage is just, it's crazy on that blade build. A majority of the damage is coming from the blade rings. The like, legacy blade wheels, I don't remember what they're called. And, the other blade tactics I have don't really matter too much there. Aside from Rending Impact, the consecutive blade rings, and then the blade rings themselves. So, if you don't know about this build, it's, I usually just call it, like, the Exploding Fire Tactics build. 1 second, let me do my... So what this build does, with the setup I've got going right now, you have your Fire Spirits, which passively spawn, they explode as soon as you hit an enemy, and then this red effect is extremely powerful. So when they hit a burning enemy, Fire Spirits have a 50% chance to explode, and each of those explosions does 1,000 damage. And then we're just applying the burn with our dashes. You could put the burn on skill, but you're probably going to want to put Rending Impact on skill after the new information that I found out. Yeah, Shadow Spike has always been kind of like a mid-tier thing. It hasn't been real strong. It's really good at clearing out the normal stages, because their range gets so big, and they stack with the amount of enemies hit. So, even with the new changes, it probably won't be like a bossing thing, but we'll be able to buff the Shadow Spikes at least. There was the skill run that I need. And then you want to look for Rending Impact. That upgrade is what kind of enables some of this stuff. At least enables it to do a lot more damage than it would normally. I think Ragna's second legacy, even aside from the shenanigans of being able to upgrade the tactic damage, is just going to be something that's way stronger than a lot of tactics as well, or than a lot of legacy things as well. The thing about Ragna's second legacy tactic, it's very easy to outpace the damage it deals, so there's really not much of a downside on it. And you can see on the cooldown, anytime I use it, the cooldown starts immediately, but the buff lasts several seconds. So this makes it where, overall, your cooldown on it is almost non-existent. You can have the buff active very frequently. I wouldn't be surprised if it was something that ends up getting nerfed in the future. I don't think they would necessarily need to nerf the damage of it, but nerf it so the cooldown is more significant. I'm glad to hear that the content's been helpful for you. I enjoy making it most of the time. So I'm glad to hear it helps out people too. The only kind of content I don't really enjoy making are guides. Those are something that's more like, it's a pain in the ass while I'm doing it, but seeing the end product is always nice. But it's not something I can do frequently. So really, I don't need to pick up any other tactics for the rest of this run. I will get Fatal Rend at some point just for the execute, but other than that, I think we have everything we need. That was a bad time to activate that. Oh well. The only real downside that I've had with Ragna's Legacy, or Second Legacy, is that if you use it and it's a stage like this where you have to travel for a little bit between where you can start hitting enemies again, you do end up draining a bit of HP that way. But as long as you have like a decent amount of enemies to hit, or even just a single enemy, it works on bosses too. As long as you're hitting decently frequently, you heal back very easily. Sometimes you even end up healing more than you started with. What do you guys think about Icy so far? The general thing I've been hearing in the Entropy Effect Discord is that people think she feels weak, and that has not been my experience with her at all. People were saying, like, the main thing is she kills bosses too slowly, but I haven't really noticed it, especially in comparison to playing Hazama. It's nowhere near as bad as him. Yeah, that's generally what I've been hearing, is that she's not good against bosses. Maybe I can change some people's minds. I cleared Mind Trials with her in 5 minutes. Which is a really good pace in terms of most of my characters. I think this Covenant's gonna be really good. I'm trying to think of... I don't think I'll be doing ground skill damage too often anyways. I wonder how this interacts with her, too. Because MP... This normally just turns off your, like, MP regen, I think. But she doesn't regenerate MP that way anyways. This also wouldn't do anything for my current setup. I want to see how this interacts. I think this would be really, really good with the air attacks, air hold attack spam. But I do probably want to be doing some ground skill damage at some point. I guess we can pick up Radiance just for some damage increase. I don't really need anything else. I think the two main things about Icy are going to end up being the Electron Flow moves and her aerial hold attack. But some of these passives, you start getting a ton of MP gain, and you can spam the aerial hold attack. And then the thing with the Electron Flow moves are that they're very low risk and low committal, and you can chain them back to back pretty frequently. Some of her moveset does feel a bit awkward, I've noticed, and then other parts of her moveset just feel really, really smooth. That's why I've just been mostly sticking to the Electron Flow stuff. And it's also nice for a change to just, you pick up one potential and you get like 4 different moves out of it, rather than having barely any moveset for half a run. Also, something I need to check is if my stance has iframes right now. Okay, no. So I think what's unlocking them is getting the iframes from the base skill. I'll explain that after I clear this. I've noticed there's a lot of things with Icy where things will get iframes, but the game doesn't tell you about it. And I don't know exactly when they're getting iframes, but I assume it's from... She has one of her base... her basic... Or she has a potential for her basic skill that gives it iframes, and I'm assuming it's just giving other skills iframes too. So there's a upgrade for Electron Flow, where you can hold skill when you do the inputs to charge, and there's something that gives this charging animation permanent iframes, and you can hold this forever. So, like, if you're in the middle of Oreed's, like, butterfly section, you can just sit there and hold this, and you will never take any damage. It's really dumb. Another thing I learned while looking at some damage value stuff is that it's really weird to explain. Summon Radiance and Frost are not really doing what it sounds like they're doing. When it just says, like, it increases your attack by a certain percentage, or it increases your damage by a certain percentage, it's doing something similar, but it's doing it in a very strange way. Both of them, instead of just increasing your, like, the flat amount of damage you deal, it adds an additional damage hit anytime you deal damage. And that hit deals its own separate damage number. It's relevant because the additional damage number it's dealing is only scaling off of the base damage that the attack would do. So, like, if I'm at Jin with full potential set and having, like, 300% extra increase of damage, none of that 300% increased damage is actually getting factored into the damage that Radiance or Frost is dealing. It's very strange. And it gets even stranger because Rending Impact, the other upgrade that I've been talking about, is something that works the complete opposite way, where it just increases the flat amount of damage you deal, instead of doing weird shit like the others. Also, Radiance does not apply to tactic damage, it just applies to your standard character attacks and skills. So that's something that, when I saw that they nerfed Rending Impact, but buffed Radiance in the recent patch, I didn't understand why, but now it makes more sense. Even though this says you're doing an additional 16%, the damage is actually scaling off of all your other damage increases, while this is just like a flat amount based on, I guess it's the base damage of the attack itself. It's, like I said, it's really funky how they have things set up. I think Frost is still, like, top tier by a long shot when it comes to, like, just general tactic setups. But I think we probably overestimated a little bit, knowing what I know now. I don't know which is better between Frost or Rending Impact in terms of just, like, overall damage increase, but I know that Frost and Radiance don't really scale into the later parts of the run the same way that Rending Impact does. It's very strange. That's one of those things that would be a pain in the ass to go and test, because I'd have to compare, like, a character with the exact same potentials at high damage values. I really like the fact of knowing that Rending Impact increases tactic damage, though. I think that's something that will be very, very useful. There's also a lot of strange stuff going on with Icy in terms of what moves count as attacks and what count as skills. So it's been difficult to tell if you're supposed to run Frost on her attack or her skills. Like her base skill, if you're just using the skill button, it counts as an attack until you get the upgrade that gives it's an MP cost, and then it becomes a skill. So it's kind of weird in that regards. And there's a similar thing with her hold attack, the Judgment Cut thing, where it counts as an attack unless you're spending SP on it. If you spend SP for the upgraded version, it becomes a skill. So it's hard to tell what a lot of her stuff is scaling off of and which one is the better of the two. So it's nice to be able to just run Rending Impact and buff both instead. Same for Radiance, it just kind of buffs both of them. Another thing I did try out was some of the Poxin changes, but even with like boosting their damage with Rending Impact and stuff, they still felt extremely weak. They didn't really buff much of Poxin though. It was like they made it where on Venom, when you have the Venom thing where it stacks faster now, but it doesn't stack up in damage nearly quickly enough to really do anything. And I think that's all that really got changed for it. Let me check something real quick. So it does mention Sweep having a hidden effect for invincibility, but it doesn't mention anything else about the rest of them gaining invincibility frames. I do have this upgrade, so we'll check again and see if my hold moves have invincibility on them now. And they still don't. They do on my full potential Icy. I just have no idea where you pick it up. This is one of her movesets that I feel just doesn't feel very good to use for some reason. It's probably not as bad as I originally thought it was. You can at least, like, dash cancel it and stuff. I don't know what it is. Something about it feels like a little awkward for me. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't mind seeing more crossover characters. As much as I like Blazblue itself, I like this game much more as its own standalone thing. So I would not be upset at all with just a lot of crossover characters. They already got Lambda in here, and Noelle, and now Hazama, so that's a majority of the characters I like from BlazBlue. Just missing Izayoi. I would really like to see her in this game. I think she could have like a lot of cool mechanics in this game too, with how her kit works. Her stance stuff isn't really something I messed around with a lot so far. I should probably, like, try to use them more frequently. I feel like sometimes I kind of get, like, stuck in the stance instead of getting the input to come out as quick as I want it to. But that also just might be an input issue on my part. I mean, if you're gonna pick one person to use, Aquaman is a good choice. He's a ridiculously strong character. This is something, if you see MP cost or fast kill MP recovery, they'll make Icy runs so much easier. You can even just buy them from the starting shop if you really want to, but I don't like having to do that every run. Both of those make a huge difference in her gameplay. really wish I knew if I had the invincibility unlocked yet. Contender for the strongest characters are between... I really don't like talking about this topic, but... kinda between... Rachel is commonly agreed as number 1. Hakumen is commonly number 2. And then after that, it's between Lambda and Rachel. But... There's a lot of issues with talking about what the strongest character in this game is, because you can factor in things like how many potentials does a character need to get going, or you can factor in things like how good is a character at very high potentials. Something that I really argue against Rachel being number 1 character is because she takes a lot of potentials to get going, and she has a harder time getting there than other characters like Lambda and Hakumen, who can get to their like power spike very quickly, and they don't have any issues before that point. So I think talking about like strongest character overall is something that it's not really anything you should ever consider too heavily. A lot of people have their own opinions on what aspect of a character makes them good. So it's a lot of times it's going to come down to just what that individual values more. I'll try to explain some more after the fight. Oh, I don't have the invincibility for that. Oops. Yeah, I think the one thing that the entire community can agree on is that Jin's legacy skill or legacy passive is probably the best thing in the entire game. So the way that Rend works is just any time an enemy is moved, it doesn't matter if they're moving by doing an attack or if you're hitting them. If you weren't here before, though, the main reason why I'm using Rend is for Rending Impact. There's a couple of new things I found out in regards to like how damage is calculated in this game. One thing about Rending Impact is that it does increase tactic damage, which is very rare. Most damage increases do not increase your tactic damage. So right now I'm using it to buff this Fire Spirit Detonation effect, which can deal up to 1,150 damage per Fire Spirit. Something like this Radiance, where it says... I guess it does specify that you deal 80% more damage, but still, it's not something that you would really know. that Rending Impact increases tactic damage while Radiance doesn't. It's something I had to go and test on my own. Yep, the nerfs finally make sense now. And there's another layer on top of that. The way that the damage is being calculated from Radiance and Frost is very, very strange. Radiance and Frost aren't giving you a flat damage boost, they're adding an additional hit onto whatever hit you deal. So, like, if you deal one hit with your normal attack, it'll deal the damage of the normal attack, and then there will be a second damage number from the Frost or the Radiance. This second damage number that it's doing is also not being calculated based on your final damage. So if you have, like right here, I have a 360% damage increase, which would be making the attack itself hit harder, but it won't make the bonus damage from Radiance and Frost deal more damage. It will deal the same damage regardless of if my character has one potential for the minimum amount of damage scaling, or if that character has full potentials for like max amount of damage scaling. It still does the same thing. So it seems like no damage modifiers are applied into things like Radiance and Frost. It's just based on the base damage of whatever attack you're dealing. So these aren't as valuable as they look, even though they say they're doing like 50% or 80% more damage. I think they're still useful, especially because of how just little options there are in general when it comes to good attacking moves and other moves. But that's what I'm kind of testing out today to see how good these builds with Rending Impact boosting other tactic damage works. And so far, this one's felt good. I'll show you guys the Blade build after I finish this run. The Blade build that I've made with this is insane. Like, it's very blatantly overpowered. Yep, so basically Radiance and Frost, we've probably been giving too much value, and Rending Impact, we've been very undervaluing. I don't know just how many builds this is going to open up, because a majority of the tactic damage, just at base values, are low to begin with. But I think it'll, at the very least, it'll make a couple, like, mid-tier builds better, or maybe open up a few more mid-tier builds. Like, at this point, nothing is going to save Toxin, but we might be able to do some other stuff. Like, this Fire Spirits build, honestly, feels pretty good so far. Icy isn't like a real high DPS character on her own either, so the tactics are having a pretty big effect here in me being able to clear this 500,000 HP Susano pretty quickly. So, you don't have cooldowns in this game, you just have MP cost. But that's probably what you meant. There are a couple of passives that you can get on Icy. Let me find them. You want the MP recovery from Universal Enhancement, and then you want the MP recovery from Lysis. And you unlock this, where is it? This hidden effect here. Universal Enhancement increases MP recovery efficiency to the max. By the time you get to that point, you can start just basically spamming your hold attacks constantly. And if you use them in the air, they come out basically instantly. So I think she ends up being a very high DPS character once you get her going. The speed that you can chain her moves together, and how frequently you can weave these judgment cuts into them, it gets really insane. The one thing I've been having some issue with is the invincibility frames when going to her marks. Oops. There I tried to go to the mark and it disappeared right when I pressed the button. That was unfortunate. But yeah, I've been having issues where it feels like the invincibility frames on detonating the marks are... I don't know what it is with them. If it's just like starting too late, or if it's overall not very long. But I feel like a lot of times I get hit when I try to use them for the invincibility purposes. So something important when it comes to Radiance and Frost on Hakumen specifically is that one of the things I noticed that, well, one of the few ways I could find to actually increase the Frost and Radiance damage is to use a move that has a charging effect on it, like his down attack. If you hit an enemy with it uncharged, or it's this one, the hold attack. If you hit an enemy with it while it's uncharged, you'll do less damage on the Frost or Radiance, rather than if you hold it and charge the move up completely, you'll get a damage bonus to those. But other than that, I really couldn't find ways to boost the damage of these. I didn't try stuff like Mind Crystals, because that's a lot harder to test. But I did try stuff like Rending Impact and other stuff. For Ragna, I mostly look for Universal Enhancement stuff to get all of his passives upgraded, and then the dash attack upgrade here, where it says you attack in a larger range and deal more damage with multiple attacks, is really strong. These, the up attack can be quite useful for combos and for keeping general enemies put, like, crowd controlled. And then also you can get invincibility frames on it, which can be useful. Increased range on his basic attack is also good. The heavy strike upgrades are pretty good as well. Really, when I play Ragna, it feels like as long as I can get the universal enhancements, it makes him strong enough that his other moves will be useful, no matter which ones of them I get into. Devoured by Darkness is also really good for a healing tool, and if you're running Skill Frost on him, it'll do a good amount of damage. Alright, so where am I at? Alright, Mind Challenge. Be prepared to see maybe the most tactics damage that we've ever done in this game. I'm pretty sure it's stronger than the Lightning Orbs build, but I haven't tried the Lightning Orbs build boosted with this stuff yet either. Now I'm just gonna let the tactics damage do the rest. I think I got my damage reduced there because I was hitting the tree's leg, but even then, that damage is it's very broken. Yeah, this is insane. So to talk about it again, what's going on here is a couple different things. So first of all, the most relevant parts of the build are Summon Blade Ring with Precision Cut. You need Precision Cut because it basically doubles the amount of hits that the Blade Rings deal. And then we have Skill Poison Ring with consecutive Blade Rings. While the Poison Ring is active, the Blade Rings get like kind of stuck in there, and they deal way more hits than they would normally. Since I was running a Blade build, I went ahead and put Dash Dagger and Legacy Storm in there, because they do get the Bloodthirsty upgrades easily with the Rend. But these aren't nearly as powerful as they sound, because they have a decently long cooldown on them, so they don't end up doing as much damage as they seem like they would. So you need the Blade Ring with Precision Cut, you need Poison Ring, and you need consecutive Blade Rings for the main part of the build. And then also what's going on is that Rending Impact is buffing tactic damage, which is very uncommon in this game. Most damage increases don't buff tactics. And then I found a second source of this with Ragna's second legacy skill, Blood Cane, which gives a 12% damage boost. This is also applying to tactics, so the tactics are getting a huge damage boost from these two, while also dealing a lot of hits on their own from the consecutive Blade Ring, and then Blade Ring itself was buffed in the last patch. So all of this kind of came together to make this really broken build. I cleared I cleared Boss Rush in 4 minutes with this build. My bad, I keep going into the test mode instead of loading into the boss fight. So this time we'll try to jump once I've gotten everything applied. So I put the thing on. Oh yeah, now you see the real damage. The tree gets like a... You deal reduced damage if you hit his feet, I think it's how it works. It's something I never really pay attention to in normal gameplay because it's not... It doesn't usually end up being too relevant, but he does get damage reduction based on where you hit him. I think he's the only boss in the game that has a mechanic like this. Yeah, I'm not sure if there are any other too noticeable second legacy skills. I've mostly been using Ragna's and Noelle's. Sometimes I'll use Rachel's for Tempest Dahlia. I think that one's nice to have. But other than that, I think Hazama, both of Hazama's legacy skills are really strong. The chains is gonna be more something you take for fun, probably. But it also depends. I haven't checked if these have invincibility on them, like his regular ones do. If they have invincibility on them, they're a lot better. Otherwise, they'll just be like a fun movement tool. I didn't like Taukaka's, even when I upgraded it. It wasn't really doing any damage. And then I didn't try out my Hibiki or Hakumen's. I can't see myself ever running Hakumen's second. It's just I would much rather have the counter if I'm running him. The counter is going to prevent you from taking damage, whereas the other one's going to reduce damage. Though the other one does last quite a long time, so having a 50% damage reduction for several seconds isn't a bad thing either. It's just, I would prefer the block, personally. And then Lambda's is just... It's okay. There's nothing really better or worse about it than her first skill. And S is one I'm gonna have to mess with. I think it'd be really useful on certain characters for the reset. Yeah, I'll do a boss rush with the blade build in a second. First, I want to test out the damage that these exploding fire spirits are doing. I went into test mode again. It's still a decent... It's a decent chunk of damage. It's not anything... Not anything too overpowered. Yeah, it's not bad. I think it'd be more noticeable in maybe DPS, rather than trying to look at it as when they're all fully charged. I'm not sure. It's not on the level of the blade build, but I think it's strong enough to be worth it. Especially on characters like Jin and Hakumen, who have a dash that deal damage, it's very easy to apply the exploding fire spirits. It's the build I've always used on Jin. Yeah, this is the right one. How funny would it be if I got Blade Ring nerfed immediately after it comes out, or immediately after it gets buffed? I doubt the developers watch my content, but there has been a few times where I've put something out and it's gotten changed within like a couple of days later, and I'm like, I'm like almost positive that it was just coincidence both times, but it is kind of funny that it's happened before. The developers are Chinese, so most of what the Chinese scene is over on a website called Bilibili instead of YouTube, so I doubt they see any of the American content that gets put out. Yeah, they're at least thinking about Black Hole, and they've gone about nerfing it in the correct way, in my opinion. It's just the numbers that they put out haven't been impactful enough. The nerfs are aimed towards making it where you can't just have infinite black holes anymore, but they don't work yet. The numbers are not big enough. And there goes her health bar. Yeah, and I would rather see them... I would rather see them get a nerf conceptually right and be undertuned in terms of numbers, rather than just to do a very random change that doesn't make as much sense. Another thing I think that's really good about the changes they've put out is that they're specifically targeting the red effects that are making the combo very strong. They're not, like, nerfing base black hole into the ground to the point of where if you're not running those red effects, then you're just getting your tactic nerf for no reason. I think that's a really good way to go about things. No, Ren does not have any kind of cooldown. The thing about, like, Rend itself, it's something you will barely ever get value out of on bosses when it comes to applying the Rend damage itself from moving enemies around. But the Rending Impact debuff is something you can keep on constantly. And that's what's giving us the value from Rend. Oh, I thought he was dead. I expected him to be dead after I did like 5 judgment cuts in a row, but I guess he wasn't. Oh, someone asked about how I get such strong... Holy, what happened for health bar there? I think it was the execute of Fatal Rend. Another thing they buffed is a Fatal Rend, which is the execute where you kill enemies under a certain value. They raised it for bosses and lowered it for regular enemies, which I think is fine. You don't really notice it on normal enemies, because normal enemies die fast either way. But I've definitely noticed places where I'm executing bosses earlier. But anyways, for the person that asked how I get such strong characters built up like this, remind me after I finish this run, if I don't remember, and I'll get you a link to it and explain a bit. The short answer is that there's a very specific set of mind crystals and entropy settings that I run on that gives us a lot of money. And then when you play on 75 to 81 entropy, you get 2 extra refreshes in the shops. So the more money you have, the more upgrades you can get out of shops. Shops end up becoming very, very overpowered. With enough luck, you end up getting 2 to 3 potentials out of it. Compared to where, like, the only other space that would give you more than 1 potential at a time would be advanced spaces. But advanced spaces are also... It feels like they give potentials at a very, very low rate. It feels so rare to see that out of them. Oh, trust me, this, what I'm doing with Icy right now has nothing to do with Icy. It's these tactics. But I hope I can make Icy look insane, too, without the broken tactics, because I think she's way better than people are giving her credit for. Right now, I'm just pretty much hitting random stuff and letting the tactics do the work while I talk. With these tactics, I managed to clear the mine trial in, I think it was just over 4 minutes. It could have been 4 minutes or less if I would have done this fight properly. This fight is very difficult to min-max for speedrunning, because if you don't just do enough burst damage to Non at the right time, she wastes so much time by going off screen. So yeah, that was a 5-minute 5-minute boss rush. Meanwhile, I was just basically rambling away while hitting random buttons. The blade build here is one of the strongest things in the game, if not the strongest thing in the game right now. Yes, let me find the... That document has everything that you need to know in terms of what mine crystals to run, what, starting buffs and debuffs is also a big part of it, because no damage reward and speedrun reward both give you a lot of exchange points for the shops. And then on top of that, if you're just doing the setup itself, you can get up to like, you can get pretty much around like 2.5k characters pretty consistently. Once you start trying to pass that range, it becomes a point of where luck starts becoming a huge part of the run. Because luck can affect a lot of things in the run. Luck can affect how many shops you see, luck can affect how many potentials you get out of the shops, luck affects covenants and black markets. There are a couple of covenant effects that are insanely broken when it comes to shops. One that gives you 2 extra rerolls for free, and one that gives you a 90% discount on the entire shop at once. And then when it comes to black markets, there's one that gives you scaling HP every time you clear a room. That one will give you a ton of MP throughout the run. And then there's also a black market that it gives you extra exchange points for perfect clearing spaces. That one is very good and combined with the 2 shop refreshes. So what I generally do when I'm setting up these characters is there's an exploit in the game that allows you to basically change the RNG that you've gotten out of any type of space. It can be done on shops, it can be done anywhere. The only thing I've been using them on since the new update is the Covenant and the Black Market. If I can refresh my Covenant to +2 refreshes and refresh my Black Market to the extra exchange points for perfect clearing, most of the time I'm able to get full potentials on characters without having to do any more extra luck manipulation. You used to have to, like, luck manipulate every single reroll of every single shop. It used to be a very big pain in the ass to get these characters set up, but now you can do it a lot easier. I'm not a huge fan of game exploits, but my feeling of this one is that it's something that is technically possible to be done in-game. It's just the grind to actually get the proper luck set up for things it's just something that you have to grind out. It's not something you have any control over. As opposed to, like, with the Mind Crystal setup, that's something that I had to plan out and I had to think about. Whereas luck is just, it happens or it doesn't. And that's not something I really like having to deal with. So let's... I don't know if this tactic damage isn't gonna be enough to carry Hazama's poor damage, but I guess we can try it. So the other thing I want to try out is attack Shadow Spikes. They've always been something that's dealt okay damage, nothing too great, but not also nothing as weak as some of the other tactics. So I need to actually switch to... I need to switch to Umbra Tactic, because I want to be picking up Dash Shadows too along the way. I should also really change these two out. I've talked about it in videos, but Mixture Replenishment and Mixture Enhancement are two of the best Mind Crystals you can get, especially when combined together. Yeah, before they added Covenants and Black Markets, you could get, like, you could get very consistent ratings on your character every time. But now that they added those two things, like, it did break the ratings of what we can achieve, so we can get way higher ratings. But also, if you want to pass that old point, the old point was around 2.5, same as it is now. If you want to pass that rating, things start getting very luck-based. So with this setup, I run Attack Shadow Spike and Shadow Conversion. Shadow Conversion is a weird, it's a weird tactic you get when you combine Shadow Spikes and Mines for some reason. I don't fully understand what this tactic even does, but the important thing is that it increases Shadow Spike damage by 110%. And then I'm going to be building into where my dashing shadows can also be Shadow Spikes. So I'll be getting Shadow Spikes from two sources at the same time. This Zama run is gonna feel really weird after... I've been playing nothing but Icy because I've been trying to practice her. Yeah, the max HP ends up scaling so high. I'm trying to remember what... I'm pretty sure I've seen people with, like, the 10,000 range of HP. But I also don't know how much those people were just using the buff, or if they were using, like, other load manipulation to get other HP buffs. I feel like in theory what this red effect is supposed to be doing is making the shadows explode faster, but I can't really tell a difference if they do. If they do, it's not a noticeable enough difference. Actually, maybe. I don't know. That's one of those things that I would have to just, like, take footage of both both of them happening and see what the actual difference between them is. Well, there's a gold dashing shadow already. Though I don't think the dashing shadow damage ends up mattering. I'm not sure though. I think this just replaces the damage that dashing shadow would deal. I really want the range shadow spike upgrade. The other two I feel like don't do as much. Though if I am trying to maximize on shadow damage, I might want this just for the damage increase. Wait, no. Nope. The ranged are just better. They deal larger range and deal more damage, so there's no reason not to take that. I'm trying to think of what other kinds of tactics would deal enough damage on their own to be worth boosting with Ragna Legacy and Rending Impact. The obvious answer is the Light Spear and Thunder build. But that's something we've already done before. What the fuck was that hitbox? I'm sitting behind here. He throws a grab to the left, and I get grabbed. What? I've seen some weird hitboxes from sweeper grabs and those things, but that might have been one of the worst cases I've ever seen. I really hate this stage layout. That's one of the stages that's not too bad at default, but once you get increased enemy spawns and increased enemy attack rate, the amount of ranged attacks that gets thrown at you there just gets really high. Man, if I don't pick up a potential or two here, this run might just be screwed, honestly. I hate these types of runs. Here's another exchange. Maybe I can get at least one potential. Nope. These runs feel so bad. It doesn't happen that often, but sometimes you'll walk into a first boss fight with like 1 or 2 potentials, and it doesn't feel good. Wait, I fucked up anyways. I don't have Ragna's second legacy skill, I just noticed. I took his first one instead of his second one. Also, I'm gonna turn that down. I do wonder how good the healing is on Ragna's standard skill once you level it up, because it does say that the healing is increased with level, but I haven't tested it. I feel like you really wouldn't want to run it over the second one anyways. Unless the healing was like very substantial. One thing I hope they improve with Hazama is some of the detection on when you're throwing out your chains. Oops. They'll get stuck on very random places of the stage. Wow. I am... We're gonna pretend that that room never happened. 'Cause that was some of the worst gameplay I've ever done. It's definitely gonna take me a little bit to get back into the swing of playing Hazama. And I really don't want to be refreshing these, because the refreshes are the same pool as my potentials, and I need the potential refreshes. I'll just take a... I'm pretty sure Tentacles have a red effect with Shadow Spikes as well. They're probably not good, but it's something I can pick up easily enough with the Shadow Chance. I feel like they could, this butterfly effect that's on, this advanced stage, I feel like they need to make it more visible somehow. I don't know if it's just me, but especially when there's a lot of, effects going on at once, it's very easy to not be able to see that those butterflies are on you. Hello. I'm really glad to hear that my stuff has helped you out. You're probably thinking about Reki. Beating Reki after starting in just a couple of days ago is pretty good. She's definitely quite a step up compared to other bosses. I don't know how difficult she is on like the easy mode, but I know in the harder modes she's pretty difficult. I made the I made the very bad mistake of not knowing that Ascension mode bosses have more difficult attack patterns than regular or hard mode. And the first time I really practiced Reki was fighting her in Ascended mode. So I was learning a way harder version of her than what was necessary. Legitimately didn't even notice that the bosses in this mode have harder attack patterns until someone pointed it out, and I'm like, oh yeah, they actually do. I think a lot of them aren't that noticeable. When I fight the floating eye, I literally feel no difference. Then when I fight like Oreed, I feel a big difference in attack patterns, that is. The main difference is obviously that in Ascended mode, they have significantly more HP, which I don't really like, honestly. I'd rather just see them have the harder attack patterns and maybe like a small boost to HP, but not to the point of where end-game bosses are having over 1 million HP. I know someone said that when they fought Susano, they got him up to 800,000 HP, and that's per phase. That's not total. I don't know what difficulty they were on. Hello. Oh, and yes, Rachel is very broken. She's commonly considered to be the best character in the game. Just between how much invincibility she has and the damage output that she deals. This could be very useful. The only thing is getting through that initial negative 100 MP is pretty annoying. Oh, this effect is also very broken if you're looking to make very strong characters. This effect is so much better than what the description actually tells you. Your sortition spaces aren't doubled. They get set anywhere between 2 to 5 times. So you can get an MP from there and get like 100 MP off of just one thing. It's insanely good. If I wasn't going for some red tactics, I would take it and show it off. But yeah, this is way better. This is probably what we want for this run. Cancel the dash. Once we get a dash shadows, this is going to become a pretty insane run, most likely. Hakumen does whatever he wants, basically. Hakumen is one of the few characters that, his base damage values are just so good that he doesn't rely on tactics. But if you want to take tactics, some things that are good are like Frost on his skills, with Frost Burst specifically as the upgrade. Stuff like Summon Radiance is good on him, and Rend with Rending Impact. Anything that can just boost his damage is going to be good on him, because his damage is already so high to begin with. These shadows are not doing the damage that I feel like they normally do. I wonder how much of it has to do with being on Ascended mode. Because normally these shadows on their own will just kill anything they touch. I guess the problem too could be that I'm struggling to set them off in an AoE on Hazama as much as I could with normal characters, or with other characters. For potentials, anything that makes his counter stronger, like being able to do it multiple times, especially, and dealing multiple hits with it are strong. And then I like to get, it's the down plus dash input that lets you do a lot better dashes than your regular ones. I like having those. So by the way, look at how many shadows I can spawn while I'm dashing around now. This Covenant is really insane if you have the right potentials to use with it. It'll be way better once I get the red tactic I need to. And I need triple dash, so I can spawn 3 of them at a time. If I'm able to make it far enough in the run, I think it's gonna get pretty insane. Yeah, I'd say pretty much the same thing. All the counter stuff, longer distance dashes, or the second dash input. I don't know. I really don't enjoy playing the skill Hazama build. I think there's just so much that you have to get with it in terms of potentials before you can really start doing anything. I really just wasn't having fun trying to figure out how to route things with this skill build in a way that was enjoyable and like felt strong as well. Okay, now the run should pick up a bit more. Now that when I dash, they also become shadow spikes. And there's no cooldown on it anymore, so I can summon just infinite shadow spikes now. Oh yeah, I think the Jin counter build is really strong too. Counters were my main source of damage when I did the Mind Trial videos for him. That one kinda has a similar issue, that it takes a bit to get off the ground, but it's not nearly as bad as the Hazama one. I never really felt like the bow attacks were doing a whole lot compared to like how much MP you spend on them. They're not too bad in for clearing out regular rooms, but for bosses, they just don't feel like they have the damage. What I could always do with the Jin skill build is run my usual setup of fire spirits, and then just get the skill cold during the run. That way I would kind of still have the early game that I like having out of those, and be able to build into the skill stuff. Man, what is up with this run? I'm almost at the second boss now, and I have 4 potentials. I could have had one here if I managed my money properly. Oh yeah, the extra freeze is something they added at some point, and I haven't played a whole lot of Jin since then, so that's something I need to try out. The extra freeze duration on the bow. I'm sure that would help it. I have no MP. This is a really rough run. I'm trying to remember how the icy skins work. I think for the Noelle skin, you have to find all of her potentials in her unlock area, and most of them are hidden behind, or like a lot of them are hidden behind different secrets. And then with one of her other colors, it's just in one of the secret chests. If you're in the Blazblue Entropy Effect Discord, if you go into the general chat and click on, I think it's called View Threads, there's a thread that shows all of the, where to find all of the potentials. And then, to get the hidden chest with her other color should be in the room where you fight Watcher and Sweeper. You need to kill them, and then go back to the starting area of the room in the top left, and it will give you a chest. That should give her the purple costume, if I'm correct. No, not her purple costume. It's the orange costume that one unlocks. These infinite shadow spikes look real goofy once I start getting a lot of them stacked up with my dashes. I really need triple dash, and then I'll be able to make a lot more. There's a video somewhere on my channel of I did this setup with S, and it got really insane with all of her like aerial attacks in between all the dashes, and all the crests that were spawning, and the shadow spikes that were spawning. It was very crazy. I don't think the plant at the base does anything, at least not as far as anyone knows. It'd be kind of funny if there was some, like, minimal stat boost you got for it or something, but I don't think it does anything important. If you don't water it, it will eventually die again. And also, I've noticed, sometimes if I lose a run, it seems like it dies. Either that or I've just forgotten to water it. It's hard to tell which one. I usually water it every run, but if I'm grinding legacy tactics or something, sometimes I forget. Oh, I didn't mean to select that, but I think it was max MP, so it's fine either way. These shadows are not dealing the damage I thought they would. That's a little upsetting, but it's kind of also to be expected. Oops. The highest mine level is 91. Though you really don't need to level it past, like, 30. I think 30 is when you unlock the last slot. After that, it's just HP. So I would prioritize spending money on upgrading mine crystals instead of leveling it past there. Shadow Spike is just something I'm testing. I think Hazama was also not necessarily the best character for me to be using this on either. I think someone like S would be a lot better. So, fun fact, S actually has a hidden mechanic when it comes to Shadow Spikes. If you have the potential where... you generate crests while you're dashing, there's a little Easter egg where your shadows from Shadow Dash will actually spawn their own crests and allow you to deal a little bit more damage that way. That is not the upgraded I thought it was. Oh well, it's fine. Speaking of, like, Easter eggs, there's a similar thing where if you have Kokone's components unlocked, the shadows will also leave behind a component. There's a couple of little Easter eggs in the tactics where they'll scale with a character's mechanic in a certain kind of way, but it's not something... It's probably not common in general, but we also might not have found them. They're something that are pretty difficult to find. Yeah, it's in the build that I ran, where the shadows also had no cooldown, it became very powerful, because none of them... It happens every time I dash without cooldown, and then each of them are spawning a crest. It became very powerful, but it's not something that, like... That's a very situational thing. It's not something that really affects the gameplay too much otherwise. It's just a nice little hidden thing for people to find. Oh, another one of those hidden mechanics is that, I'm trying to remember what the move is. There's a move with Hibiki, where he summons clones. It's not the one where you hold the skill, it's a different input. I don't remember what it is. But he'll, like, throw out a bunch of clones in front of him. That one... the clones will also have any summon effects that you have. So if you have something like lightning orbs, they'll all have their own lightning orbs. It's a pretty cool little Easter egg thing to find. I'm curious if they have plans to buff Hazama. The damage decrease is so noticeable compared to other characters. I know this game I also, like... don't have as good of a potential setup as others, but I've been hearing basically everyone say that Hazama's damage is low. And I don't think it's really a case of, like, where we just haven't found the right build for him yet. Because there's not really a whole lot to build on him. He honestly has, like, a very small moveset compared to a lot of the characters. A lot of his stuff ends up coming from... or a lot of his potentials ends up coming from just the huge amount of passives he has. This gets real confusing. There's Barrier Shield, which is the debuff from Advanced, the Advanced space, which is giving them the shields. But then there's also shield enemies on top of that. So it gets a little confusing on which is which, if there's a shield enemy alive or if it's just the passive. No, this isn't Hazama's default skin. It's one that comes unlocked for a couple characters when you buy Hazama. Yeah, I feel significantly weaker than when I did my Frost run with him, unfortunately. It's cool seeing all of the shadows explode everywhere, but they just aren't quite dealing enough damage. Which I also think could be because of Ascension difficulty. Because I've never had problems with the Shadow Spikes killing normal enemies in regular runs. It's always just been that the Shadow Spikes don't quite deal enough damage to bosses compared to other options. Oh, I'm out of SP. Finally, I get the invincibility for my chain pull. Hello. What do you mean by X-matic? Oh god, this stage? At least I have invincibility. Makes things a lot more manageable. But anytime I just see like a wall of those blue projectiles, I I get scared. There was one stage layout I saw one time where it was like you had to jump up onto a platform above you, and there were so many of those blue projectiles spawning so frequently that I just couldn't get up there without taking damage. Because it was like a narrow corridor where there was only one way I could go up. Oh, the song. Yeah. I don't know the Blazblue songs by name. Yeah, I love Hazama's voice lines. I got kind of, I wouldn't say, like, peer pressured. I'm trying to think of what the word is. It's almost kind of like Stockholm Syndrome, too, but that's like a more of a negative connotation to put it in. But anyways, I got sort of coerced into being a Hazama fan by one of my friends, because he was a big Hazama fan. And we used to play this MMO called Elsword. And in some of the private servers for Elsword, there was the capability to mod a bunch of things, like your battle portraits and your attack animations and all that kind of thing. So, I modded both of our main characters into having like a bunch of attack animations from Hazama and his like portraits and all that kind of thing. So that's pretty much how I got introduced to Hazama, by having his voice lines and his attack animations like screamed at me constantly as I played another MMO. I did play Blazblue myself before that point of us playing the MMO, but my original mains in Blazblue were always Jin and Noelle. I liked those two from the beginning. And then at some point I started playing Lambda, and she became one of my favorites too. I haven't actually played Hazama in the games themselves too much. It's mostly something I ended up liking for his animation and his character design. And his voice lines, obviously. So, has anyone else noticed that, by the way? that every time, the first time I load in the game and I do a counterattack as Sazama, the game just freezes. It never happens once it's loaded in for the first time, but it always happens on first launch. It's really strange. It makes me, like, think the game is about to crash. Yeah, I'm really happy with how Lambda turned out in this game. Her being my favorite character from the series, and then her playing so well in this game was nice to see. I was a little disappointed with Noelle in this game, but as I've learned more about the game, I've started to enjoy her a lot more. No, I don't think it was a slowdown from the move. It was a much longer pause than the move would normally have. It was like an actual game freeze, and not just a delay on the counter going off. I'm out of MP. I think I procced the counter in midair there, instead of, like, getting teleported back down to her in time. I really want to counter her to where the counter hits, like, as soon as she lands, and puts her in the stun state. Oh, that's the end of that one. I didn't have the damage output. I could have played a lot better too. That was my fault. Hazama's just... he's kind of rough if you can't get the right stuff going for him. So you can fly off screen away from some of the stuff, but when the blue lines are spawning from our read, they track your location, and they will hit you off screen. I found that out the hard way. For the stomp, I can try to show it off. I've tested all the tactics I wanted to, so I'll probably just do a run or two of Boss Rush with Zama and Icy to show them off. And then... We'll see how late it is. I want to stream for around like another hour, and then call it good. Yeah, the stomp is really weird to time. Because the second and third hit come out back to back very quickly. It's very easy to accidentally get into the fourth hit. I had a lot of problems with that one too. And then another thing I had a very hard time getting the hang of was this input. It's so weird. Oops. You have to hold action to get the chain to pull them, and then you have to time the... I find the timing on the skill input really weird. A lot of times I don't get it consistently anymore, or even now. For some reason, though, what works for me... hang on, let me do it again. If I do this, I should be able to start getting it consistently. I don't know why this makes it consistent for me, because it's not necessary for it to work. But if I do... When I go to do the skill input, if I hit skill and action key at the same time, instead of just pressing skill on its own, it just works. I don't know why it would make it any more consistent. It might just be a thing of where it changes my timing slightly somehow, but it works for me, so I'm not gonna question it. Yeah, you press the skill button while you're dragging, but it doesn't always go off. I think you're supposed to time it towards when they get close to you, but I'm not sure. Like I said, I can only do it consistently by doing it a completely different way than I'm supposed to. Actually, let me try something. No, I don't think it's a matter of... I know sometimes I'm accidentally holding the button, and then I'm getting different things instead, but... like I said, I don't know why doing action and then action plus skill lets me do it consistently, but it does. Maybe that'll help other people too, I don't know. No, if you're trying to get the stomps out, you do it on the third hit of your skill. So you have to press skill 3 times, and then start mashing attack immediately. Like that. So it's skill, 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 and then mash attack. The longer you mash attack, the longer the stomps will come out, as long as you have MP to spend them on. And you will, if you have enough passives, you will get to the point of where the stomp is now infinite. And you also have invincibility frames while you're doing this. So if you really wanted to, you could kill any boss just by doing this. It's a little goofy. So I think this is... Yeah, this Azama is the one I've gotten max potentials on. It's still been making his clears really slow. 8 minutes is on the lower end of characters. On, like, the level of, like, Jin. A lot of these these clears I could get a lot faster, too. Like, Hakumen is definitely capable of going down to 5 minutes or less. My fastest clear is it Lambda or Coco? Yeah, Lambda has a 241. Coco has a 350. Oh no, Coco has a 236. So Coco's my fastest. But Coco was also done with a build that was patched. No, I ended up losing the Hazama run to Oreed. I could have played a lot better, but... I could have played a lot better in that Hazama run, but I think also my setup for him between tactics and potentials wasn't really working out well. It's okay, now I get to play with full potential Hazama, which is much more fun. All of the characters feel different at full potentials and not full potentials, but I think Hazama is one of the more drastic ones when it comes to that. He just feels so much better to play with potentials. Ah, that didn't go as far as I thought it would. Oh god. I did not think about trying to use Hazama's chains on keyboard. That doesn't sound nearly as fun. Yeah, I get what you mean, because doing the directional inputs would be a lot harder. Oh yeah, one of the other really weird inputs for Hazama is, I wonder if I actually have to hit something to do it. I should be able to do it on I. This shit. It's so weird to use. You have to pull yourself to an enemy and then also start holding attack at the same time. But a lot of times I'll end up getting hold attack instead, or something else. I had it down to where I could use it before, and now I forgot how it works again. There's a specific way you have to do it, I remember. But you play this game using your mouse and keyboard? That sounds strange. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how the spin tech works again. I know it has something to do with the fact that, based on if you hold the input or not, you end up going further when you pull to your chain. That sounds weird. Yeah, it sounds weird to me. If I was gonna play on keyboard, I would use probably arrow keys for movement, and then uh, actual buttons like ZXC for attacking. That's how I've played other like 2D action platformers in the past on mouse and keyboard, and that's always felt good to me. But I could see just if you're used to it, using mouse for attacking wouldn't be the worst thing. There we go, we got the spin. The funny part is I don't even think the spin really does enough damage to be worth it. I'm not sure about Hollow Knight. I never got around to playing that one. Hello, Nan. Attacking her in the air is one of my favorite things to do. Even though you can't even see what you're doing off screen, it's satisfying to be able to damage her while she's up there instead of having her waste my time. Yeah, I think definitely. Well, it's very strange. Hazama is simultaneously one of the easiest and the hardest characters. He's very easy if you want to play him that in an easy way, but if you want to like start doing all of his inputs and stuff, he becomes very hard. So like for example, I can just do this. There's nothing stopping you from just being an infinite iframes by spamming your up attack. It refunds more MP than you gain, or it ends up refunding more MP than you use once you have the passive for everything. So he's simultaneously one of the more degenerate characters, while also being the hardest character in the game, I guess. I think Icy will probably kind of have a similar thing, to where I think there's a really high skill ceiling on what Icy can do, but at the same time, there's also easy ways to play her. Yeah, the skill spam is what I've seen most people doing on Hazama, and I don't enjoy it. I also kind of feel like, if I were to play Hazama with just spamming the same skill and not using his chain and knife combos, why am I playing Hazama in the first place? At that point, I can just play another character that can do skill spam, like Rachel, or Lambda, or Kokonoe. It doesn't feel right for his character, to me. But I think they've kind of messed up balance-wise in that regard, to where it's way too rewarding to spam his skills right now, compared to using his other stuff. I've never been too into fighting games, in terms of, like, the Blazblue series. I've played a couple of the Blazblue games. I played, I really liked, what was it called? Under Night In-Birth. But I always played fighting games casually. I never played them, online or anything. Where most of my experience comes from are action platform. Where am I? When am I gonna come down? Anyways, where my experience comes from is action platformers and, Smash Brothers. I really like platform fighters, and anything that plays in that kind of same way, like action platformers. I really doubt, if anyone here has heard of the game Odin Sphere, I will be surprised. Odin Sphere is one game that I spent a lot of time getting very good at. There's actually some, What the fuck was that? Never mind. It's just because I'm holding the input. I forgot about that. I just didn't expect it to, like, swing me down like that. But anyways, Odin Sphere was some of the first videos I ever put out on this channel. It's kind of sad, too, because a lot of them have very, very low views, which I don't really care about the view count. I just wish that more people knew about Odin Sphere, because it's such a good game. Okay, so a couple people have heard about Odin Sphere. That makes me happy. Yeah, the stuff that Hazama can do with his chains alone makes him a lot more difficult than most characters in the game. Honestly, I wouldn't really say too many of the characters are very difficult in this game. Jin is one of the more difficult ones. S can be, depending on how you play her, because she has a ton of cancel windows and air combo stuff. Mai is definitely one of the more difficult ones, but other than that, I don't know. I think all characters in this game tend to fall into the same kind of issue. I say it's an issue, but it's only an issue if you make it one, where they have a single move that spamming it will give you better results than trying to play with a varied moveset. This game doesn't really reward you for unlocking multiple moves. There's a lot of things in the game that push you towards maxing out one single move instead, and using that move. Part of it, a lot of times, ends up being on, like, that single move just being overtuned and needing nerfs. But there's also just, like, there's general system mechanics that reward you for picking up the same move. So this is a lot of stuff that doesn't get explained to you either. This menu tells you that, so right now, I'm getting a 640% damage bonus to my overall character. This damage bonus is based off of 20% for each potential that you pick up. There's another damage bonus that stacks on top of that, which is another 20%, but it's just for moves of the category of the skill that of the attack that you pick up. So it gets really complicated when it comes to these two, because it's like, in this example, it's an attack category, but does it apply to just these grounded attacks and the up attack, or does it apply to all attacks? It's something that I haven't taken the time to figure out, but I do know that the general gist of how the system works is that there's two different damage modifiers, one for total and one for moves of that type of attack. Yeah, that's a good point about, this game lets you have very high control over the RNG once you start to get into unlocking a lot of mine crystals and stuff like that, which it does have that downside of it allows you to stack into different potentials. Honestly, I really enjoy that you can affect the RNG so much in this game and get consistent runs. I wouldn't like it nearly as much if it didn't allow you to do that. But that is a personal thing from me. I've never been a huge fan of roguelikes. I like having consistency in my gameplay. With this game, it's the action aspect of it that has always made me love the game. It stands out as one of the best action games I've played. Oh, Rachel's Wind is a prime example of one move just being absurdly overtuned. Rachel's Wind is probably the worst example of them all. Worst as in, like, it's the most imbalanced. There's a speedrun video on my channel where I did 50 Entropy, and the only thing I needed to do for basically the entire run was press the wind button. I don't remember how fast the clear time ended up being on that run, but it was a... I mean, I say that it's the 50 Entropy world record on the Speedrun Archives website, but very, very few people run this game, so calling it a world record isn't really... it doesn't have much meaning, in my opinion. And that's a record that I set without, like... I needed absolutely no skill for that run at all, other than knowing how to menu shops quickly to, like, cut down real time. Yeah, I can definitely see that side of things, where the consistency does allow you to optimize things, and optimizing does lead to spamming the same thing in most cases. That's something I never thought about before, but you make a good point with that. When it comes to determining if something is an attack or skill, what generally works is asking yourself, does it have an MP cost? If it has an MP cost, it's a skill. If it doesn't have an MP cost, then it's an attack. There is one exception with this, and I don't know why, but it's just how the game works. If the input ever has a dash as part of the input method, so for example, one of S's potentials is where you do one of the dash inputs, and it costs an MP to do an attack. That one counts as an attack, despite being MP cost. So if it has an MP cost, it's a skill. If it doesn't have an MP cost, it's an attack. If it's on a dash command, it is always an attack, despite having an MP cost. Another example of that is Lambda has an up plus dash input, which does have an MP cost, but it is an attack-based thing. It's a really weird thing where they made it consistent except for one specific case. One thing I've noticed about this game is that things are not always explained to you correctly, either by fact of just wording being too similar, or wording giving you no details at all. So sometimes it's just a lot of things I've figured out about this game. I've just had to go and manually test a bunch of things. I talked about it earlier in the stream, but a lot of you guys might not have been here yet, where recently one of the things I figured out that's on this topic is that so there's three different tactics. There's one called Rending Impact, there's one called Frost, and there's one called Summon Radiance. All of them have very similar wording in that they say they increase your damage by a percentage amount. But the way that Rending Impact and Frost and Radiance are calculated are completely different. Yeah, they could just label everything with attack or skill. That would make things a lot more understandable for new players. Oh. Things with an action command are... That's a difficult question, because, a lot of things have been changed to where they used to be on a skill input, but they're now on an action command. Or they used to be on some kind of normal input. The action command is something that they started using more recently. It used to be a dedicated summon button. A dedicated summon button to the summon tactic slot. They used to not be automatic. You used to have to always activate them for them to be in effect. But they made them automatic, and then they just kind of... The action button wasn't used for a long time, and now they've started putting moves on it. So for Noelle's SP skill, I do know that one is a skill, though. It will work off of skill-based things. Hello. Welcome. How many of you guys are people that are, like, new to the channel? And how many of you guys are people that, just found out about the stream today? I'm curious about that, because, I didn't think, like, my discoverability would be that high towards, finding new people while I'm streaming. But both times I've streamed, I've seen a lot of new people compared to comments. I don't stream very often. I mainly do videos, but streaming is something I want to try to add on a little more often, because I like being able to talk to people in real time. Oh, okay, so yeah, a lot of you people are new. But you did find my channel before this stream, right? It's not this is the first time you're watching me, is this stream? That's the part I was most curious about. I feel like my streams would mostly be shown to just people that are already subscribed or watching me. I don't think YouTube in general is very good in terms of discoverability for streaming. If I really wanted to find more new people, I would need to stream on Twitch, but I don't really care enough about the whole thing to bother with that. I'd rather have everything in one place on YouTube. Ah, okay. So yeah, it does seem like most people here have at least seen a video before this. That's kind of what I expect when I do the streams. I don't expect to really find a lot of new subscribers based on doing them. It'll be more something to interact with people that do follow me. Okay, yeah. It doesn't surprise me also to see that a lot of you guys have just found the channel recently, because I've noticed this every time there's a patch for this game, my channel just kind of explodes for maybe up to a month, and then things kind of stagnate again. Just probably based on a lot more people searching for the game in general, and then finding my stuff that way. Or just getting recommended more stuff. The icy skins you unlock by doing... There's a lot of secrets in her unlock stages. And one of them is unlocked by finding all of her potentials, which many are hidden behind the secrets. And then one of them is in a chest before you have to fight Sweeper, and well, we can do that real quick. I don't know where all the secrets are off the top of my head, but I do need to unlock the other skin so I can show it. When you're fighting Sweeper and Watcher, you have to kill them and then go back up to the top left, and that one should unlock one of her skins. The other skin, you have to get all of her potentials. If you go into the Blazblue Entropy Effect official Discord, there's you need to go into the general chat and then open up the threads button, and that will show there's a guide that has a walkthrough on getting all of the secrets. This is one of them, but I don't think this one actually does anything. It maybe gives you an in-game achievement, but I don't think it gives any of those skins, and it doesn't give a potential, so I don't know if it matters or not. I can try to see if I know where all the secrets are on this run. I can at least show some of them off, but I might miss some of them here. I think this part you just have to wait. I don't know if you have to wait or you have to go backwards and do the teleporter for this to actually trigger the new thing. I wonder if they fixed... Nope. So, there's a bug on controller where... my jump button and my confirm button are stacked on the same key. And if I try to go through these teleporters, I can't do it. Because it jumps and cancels the animation. I changed the wrong hotkey, didn't I? It's not confirm, I need to change, it's interact. It's kind of weird that they have, separate buttons for that. There we go, now it should work. Oh yes, doing the ground dash into air dash is very, very useful. Especially once you get triple dashes, it allows you to just chain 6 dashes back to back. The amount of things you can dodge just by spamming the dodge button in this game is really high. Especially once you start getting triple dash and spamming the grounded into aerial. It helps a lot. Oh, it feels weird playing without potentials now. Yeah, and then I think Icy's dashes in general are better than other characters. They seem a little bit quicker. So there, I can't remember. There's a secret I need to do on this screen. I know there's extra dialogue for hitting the laser a bunch of times, but I don't think it's what triggers getting the chest. But I'm gonna go ahead and die to the lasers either way. Okay, so something that I need to mention when you mention iframes on dashes, this is another one of those cases where I was talking about where the game kind of has some weird and vague terminology. So your dashes have... There's a specific difference between dodge frames and iframes. Dodges have dodge frames, and certain other moves will have dodge frames as well. And then invincibility frames are a separate thing entirely. Invincibility frames, the only time it really matters are when you'll see a boss do a move and it'll have a purple exclamation mark. Those moves cannot be dodged by dodge frames, but they can be dodged by invincibility frames. It's a weird thing. So one of the hidden chests that you need to unlock, you just get to this point, and then you have to stay here until it spawns. Icy? Yeah. Icy is, from what I've heard, the game itself is kind of like the Stanley Parable, where a lot of things are about, like, breaking the fourth wall and trolling the narrator. So they added that to this section, too, where you will find most of these secrets by disobeying the narrator in some kind of way. Yeah, So I think kind of what happened with iframes and dodge frames is that the purple exclamation mark attacks didn't used to exist all the time. they got added in a later patch, and I feel like they may have gotten added because of how powerful dashes were. They wanted to maybe add something that would bypass just dash spamming. But then I feel like later what they ended up doing was just adding iframes to replace them instead. So I don't know. Maybe they do want players to think about the distinction between certain moves you have to use iframes and certain moves you can dodge, but it's something that's very obtuse. It's not something that the player would really figure out on their own. There is there's a tip in one of the loading screens that tells you purple attacks can't be dodged, but other than that, there's really nothing to give you an indication that it would work this way. So also, for Icy, this is one of the things you have to do in order to get an extra box, I think. When he tells you not to hit the lever, you have to hit the lever, and you have to beat the thing. And then I think there should be another secret coming up soon too. I don't know if I'll be able to get all of these off memory, but I can show most of them. And like I said, if you go to the official Discord, and you go into the general chat, click on threads, there's a thread that shows where all of them are. It's really helpful. It has a video for each of them. Yeah, it's something that sounds minor until you get to a certain bosses. Certain bosses really play around this mechanic, like Oreed, for example. When she does all of her butterfly attacks that fly across the screen, a lot of those are undodgeable, but you can iframe through them if you know how to. By the way, does anyone need a link to join the official Discord in order to check that Icy thread I was talking about? I can put a link in chat if people need it. Okay, here is another one of the secrets. Let me think. There we go. There's a very specific move you have to do in order to kill this enemy. Otherwise, it keeps disappearing and reappearing too fast or something. It is this skill. You press up plus action key, and then you press skill. You may have to be at full MP too. I don't know if that matters. Something that I find really weird as a design choice for this Icy section, I think it's really cool overall. But one thing they did was they gave all of these enemies a... Well, I might... yeah, I died. They give all these enemies called a buff that's called extra armor. You can see that they have like they have a blue health bar instead of the normal colored one. The blue health bar that they have is an extra layer of shield that gives them more HP, but more importantly, it gives them super armor while they have it. So it's a weird decision because it makes it where playing Icy here feels much worse than playing her in real runs. Because while in real runs, you're constantly able to put enemies in hit stun while you're comboing them, a lot of times here, if you're not careful, you'll go to hit an enemy and you'll just get your attack stuffed by them being able to attack backward, back at you. I don't know if they did it because maybe, like, it's related to the actual game of Icy itself. I haven't played the game myself, so I don't know. But it's something that, as you're trying to, like, practice her and try her out for the first time, it makes her feel a lot worse than she actually is. Yeah, that's another one of those things that they never tell you either. The debuff just says that they gain extra, like, HP or armor or something. It doesn't tell you that it gives them super armor. So here, when you get to this section, there's another secret here. The narrator will tell you to go up, but you need to go right. This battle is very difficult, especially with the potentials that they give you at this point. So the game doesn't look as successful from our point of view as it does from the Chinese community. The Chinese community is way bigger than us. At least from what I've heard, and they're a lot more dedicated to the game than us. They've actually sold a lot of copies in total, though. So I think they're happy with how the game is doing. Also, I don't think these developers are the type of people that, like, obviously they want to see their game succeed, but they feel like they're in it more for, for the love of making the game than making money off of it. I don't know if you guys have heard about the whole situation, because it happened a long time ago. Right after the game got launched, almost all the company had to be laid off because of money issues. I don't remember the exact details. I think, like, something fell through with maybe the publisher or something else, but they didn't get the money that they should have out of releasing the game, and things, like, really fell through for them. But since then, they've been able to bounce back and reform the company and rehire people that have had to get laid off. And from one of their posts about the situation, they were saying that, like, people on the team were offering to work for free on patches, and some of the other stuff I've heard, like, the lead developer was willing to work on patches even if he had to do it himself. Like, they were gonna make sure that they made this game continue by any means necessary. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's gotten to the point now of where, like, the game has started to really save and benefit their company. But things were really rough when it first launched. It also didn't help that there were a couple things that people got really upset with. A lot of the early access players were upset because there were some pretty major mechanics. There were some pretty major mechanical changes to how the tactic system worked. And then, so a lot of the people weren't happy with that were coming over from early access. Another thing that happened was a lot of people saw the name Blazblue on it and were expecting something completely different out of it and got upset about that. But I don't think those were, like, the main issues that were causing the layoffs and everything. I think it's just, those were also happening at the same time. So the fact that the studio was able to make it through everything and get to the point of where the game is successful now is really cool to see. I'm happy that everything worked out for them. Okay, so here is one of the other secrets. If you dash up, you'll notice that there's a platform here. And then you can keep dashing up to get up here. You won't be able to open the chest up there yet until some of the dialogue goes through and the lever spawns. So yeah, you can go ahead and hit the lever, but then after you hit it, you start going up here, and you can get an extra chest up here. I don't think you have to pick this one up first, but you might as well. And then you just come pick up the extra one here. Now we get to we unlock the tactic that... this has been my favorite part of playing Icy. All of the different attack into skill combos you get, they feel very fluid, and having a single potential unlock 4 different moves feels so nice compared to other characters where you're unlocking them one by one. I don't know, this is a weird passive. Sweeper does count as a mechanical enemy, and he's a boss. It does actually apply to him, but aside from that, I don't know where you would get too much value out of it. I'm trying to think of which enemies may be mechanical outside of the first area. I wonder if they've nerfed this. I feel like I was taking way more damage when I fought these before, but maybe I was just bad at the character the first time I did it, since I was learning everything. So after you kill... Oh, I guess you have to pick up this chest first, but you kill these two, and then you go up to the top left here again. You can just get up there with dashes, and then come back, and this chest will be spawned. This should unlock her, one of her outfits, and we'll check that right away. So yeah, yeah, that will be a checkpoint there, so we're fine. I wish they would let you... I think one thing that they could do is let you choose where you want to replay the things from. That way if you just miss one thing somewhere, you don't have to go and replay the entire thing. That would be nice for them to add. Because right now you just have to restart the entire thing once you've cleared it. Yep, there's the orange outfit for her. So that outfit, you just kill the sweeper and I always forget the other one's name. But you kill those two bosses, and then you go back up to the top left, and you unlock that one with a single chest. For this one, you need to get all of the potentials, which is gonna probably be finding all the secrets. I'll see if I know where the rest of them are. I think I have a general idea where they are, but I might end up missing one. One of them is here. You can actually do this section, and if you fail it too many times, it will give you a way to skip the section. But you need to not skip the section, otherwise you miss out on a potential. Oops. I thought that was one of the places where I could fall through. Wait, did they change? Did they change this section? You used to get sent all the way back to the very beginning if you hit any traps along the way. Did they change it so it actually has checkpoints? Because that would be very nice. Especially for the last section that's coming up. This section, I feel like you can't really do it by just playing off of reactions. You have to know like a specific way that you're going to do it before you start even moving. I'm trying to remember. I know... Let's try it this way. There we go. I just basically do like an upper right dash, an upper left dash, I think another upper left one, and then I didn't do that last section the way I wanted to, but I managed to win anyways. So yeah, I think it's jump and then a couple of angled dashes to get to the right, and then a couple, it's hard to describe this. Jump and angled dash to the right, 2 to the left, and then 2 to the right. That's how I'm doing it. They did add sections. Yeah, this... If you got hit in this, it used to send you all the way back to the very beginning of this area, and you had to do all of the platforming section again. So they made that much easier, which I'm fine with. Oh, was I standing on, like, the left edge of the spikes? That's something that ends up being common in games. And, yes. You need to get all of her potentials, which is basically the same thing as just, find all the secrets here. I should be close, at this point, to finishing them. Here's another one where it just tells you to go right, and you go up. This one is very easy to miss. You see how there's like a glitch in the wall there? You have to jump up and attack it specifically for some reason. And then I think it's the top right chest that you need to pick. And then, again, there's another, like, glitched wall here. It's weird because you can't jump through them or anything, you can't dash into them. You specifically have to attack them for some reason. I don't know if that's another reference to, like, the main game, but it's very easy to miss. You're going to laugh when you see what the solution for the respawning one is. I felt so stupid when I saw what it was. So I think here again, we probably... Yep, we go left when it tells us to go right. And then we go down here. And then it'll spawn enemies, but you just need to dash past them. You're on a timer here, so if you don't make it, then you just, well, what I mean is, if you stop to kill these, then you're never going to make it. That's the whole point of this. You're supposed to ignore them. Is that the one that you were saying you had difficulty with, or is it the... Because there's another respawning enemy later, too. At some point... no. If you pay attention to what the narrator says, the narrator usually gives you some kind of clue, and I got what the clue was trying to tell me, and there's a later one that I'm talking about that I got stuck on, and then felt really goofy when I found the solution. But yeah, the narrator will give you hints if you, like, keep failing at them long enough. Wait, I missed an enemy. I'm sure I missed an, one of the secrets early on. At least that one's early, so I'll be able to go back to it easy enough, because I know there's one that I was supposed to see that I didn't. So this section, you're supposed to hit a, button here. There's an easy way to do this, and there's a hard way to do this. I mean, the hard way isn't really that hard. There's a way that if you platform well enough, you can just make it in time. You're not... I don't think you're supposed to, but, the fact that you can is pretty cool. I'll show you the way that you can make it much easier on yourself. So instead of trying to do any specific platforming, just hit the button, fall down, it'll respawn you over here, and then you can go through that way. It's really funny. Getting reset like that doesn't shut the door, so you can use it as, like, a shortcut. I'm guessing that that's more of the intended way to do it, but I was able to just platform well enough that I didn't need it. It's... yeah, that one isn't very difficult. It's more of a thing of just... you kind of need to find the right sequence of moves to do in order to make it there fast enough. Then here's another pretty easy case. It tells you to go right, but you go up here. This is the one that made me feel dumb. It's a really funny solution, and it's a really clever solution. So, let me kill it a couple times. I want to show this one off, because I think it's really cool. Okay, so notice the wording on this is very intentional. As long as the regeneration command is spoken, he will respawn, is basically what it says. So I'll wait for this to finish, and then we're gonna do a very cheeky solution. Go into the options menu, go into audio, and mute. I think muting master volume works, but it's either like that or you can mute the voice. You can just mute both just to be safe. Yep, you gotta mute your game so he can't speak anymore. It's a really clever solution. That was the one I couldn't figure out on my own. It's so obvious once you know, but I would not have thought of that on my own. Now I gotta remember. I think I had this at 70, probably. Yeah, they went Psycho Mantis. Also, one thing about, I said you have to unlock all of her potentials from this area in order to get the Noelle skin, but, you don't have to do them all in a consecutive run. So if you just miss one or two, you can go back in a different run and get them that way. Here's another case where you have to go a different direction than what you're told. I know I've missed at least 2 secrets so far. I think both of them are really early on, too, so I'll try to go back and show them after I finish this. In that room, I think there's some kind of restriction where if you take damage, it resets the room. Yeah, I like a lot of the Shin Megami Tensei themes, but that one in particular is one of my favorites. I'm really curious what would happen if you ran out of 99 revives. I'm kind of tempted to just, like, leave the game on at some point and check. Probably nothing too special. I haven't actually played the games themselves. I'm not a huge fan of turn-based games. It's hit or miss for me. Occasionally I'll end up getting really into a turn-based game, but it just depends. I need to finish Re-Fantasia Metaphor at some point. I was enjoying that one, but I ended up getting busy with other games and kind of forgetting about it. The Noel skin is the one that you get from finding all the secrets. And you can do it between multiple different runs if you missed one in a certain run. Oh wait, or do you mean unlocking the Noel one? Like, I'm trying to think of how to say it. There's one where, like, Icy is Noel, and then there's one where Noel is Icy. I don't know where you get the one where Noel is Icy. I haven't heard anything about that. Okay, yeah, it's confusing when there's two of them. I'll check the Discord pins and see if it's in there. I know a couple of them are pinned on Discord too. No, I'm not seeing anything about Noel's. I'm only seeing, for the Icy ones. Okay, let me see if I can, I can find... I think there's just two that I missed. And they're both pretty close to the beginning, so it shouldn't take long. I was supposed to end stream 30 minutes ago, but then I got sidetracked on this and it took a lot longer than I expected, but that's not a big deal. This will not be like last time I streamed where I said I was about to end stream and then went for like 2 more hours. If you wanna know even more complicated movement tech, this could theoretically be faster, but I don't want to do that constantly. Actually, I don't think it is faster. I think there's just like a little bit too much, I think you lose too much momentum. Even though you're canceling dashes faster, you're not getting the extra momentum from the other dash, and you're losing momentum. The funny part of that is that I do have carpal tunnel, and it's most likely from some of these games that I've played and doing dumb shit like that. I talked about it earlier, but there's an MMO called L-Sword that I used to play, and it has some really ridiculous movement tech that you can do, but it also requires a lot of inputs, and I probably destroyed my hands doing PvP in that game. I think that's a large thing that contributed to it, honestly. L-Sword is, it's a game. L-Sword consumed, like, years of my life. Keep it that way. The current state of that game is not something you want to play. That game has went complete, like, what happens to a lot of free-to-play MMOs. It's complete pay-to-win hell. And they've made things where even, like, I don't find the core the core gameplay of it fun, even aside from the pay-to-win stuff. You're talking about Veteran Commander, the one that damages himself? Yeah, back in the day, it was a really good action MMO. It had good PvP as well. The PvP was always pay to win, but earlier on it wasn't nearly as blatant as it is nowadays. So I need to pay attention. If you guys ever see, what I'm looking for is, like, there will be a random enemy that's stuck behind a wall on the right side of the screen somewhere. I need that enemy. And then there's a place where I need to jump down, but instead of jumping down, okay, it's right here. It's like right after the first section. You're supposed to jump off the cliff, but instead what you need to do is some jumps. Wait, this might not be the right place for that. No, this isn't the right place, but it'll look similar to this place. Hello, I'm doing good. I'm just finishing up unlocking one of Icy's skins before I end the stream. I'll probably be ending the stream pretty soon, unfortunately. Yeah, it's been a long time. Oh, there's a random enemy up here. That's why the battle isn't ending. I think it's been close to 4 hours now. Uh, 3.5 hours so far. And then the last secret should... I assume it's coming up right here in this room. Okay, see how there's an enemy stuck behind this wall? There's a mechanic with her down plus skill that you unlock, where you switch positions with the enemy after the clone's attack ends. You just hold down and skill. You use this in order to get over there. I kind of don't like this solution. I mean, I like that solution works, but the solution that I tried, I feel like should also work. The solution that I did was, I hit the enemy that was back there, so I could apply a mark to him, and then I tried teleporting with the mark to get back there another way. And it doesn't work. It doesn't, it just, like, kind of sends you in the wall. You have to do the one specific one with the skill input. That's probably not, like... I doubt it's something they did intentionally, though. It's just they didn't expect people to try and, complete that section in that way. Okay, let's see. Do I get an achievement here? I didn't get an achievement. Oh wait, no. I know there's still one more I'm missing. Okay, this is the section I was talking about. When it tells you that you need to jump down, you kind of like... I missed it. Luckily, I can reset this place easy enough. I'm kind of surprised that I found someone else that plays L-Sword, but I'm not too surprised that at least someone would show up. I was more surprised when a couple of people said they had heard of Odin Sphere. So I think probably you just double jump and spam... No, there is a specific way that you have to actually do this, okay. Luckily this is in a place where I can reset it easily. Yeah, I think I need to dash diagonally up. I think the problem the first time, though, is that I didn't double jump before doing it. Oh, I almost went too far that time. So yeah, you land on this platform first, and then you just kind of do the same thing to get a little bit more movement over here. Now I should hopefully be done. Am I not? I don't know if I can back out of the run at this point, or if I need to wait. It should save my progress as soon as I pick up the chest, I would think. But I'll clear out this section. I'm glad they added the second, legacy page. Otherwise, I would have had to do this entire thing twice. Because I used to have a separate save file for characters that I do like Mind Trials on and characters that I use for Legacy. But luckily, I can now put them on the same page. That would be weird if the diagonal dashes covered more horizontal distance. Let's see if I have it. I don't know where I missed one. I'm gonna have to do that on my own and look at where all of them are. Anyways, thanks to everyone who showed up at the stream. I appreciate you guys coming to watch, and it's been fun chatting with everyone. And I'll see you guys next time.